Hey everyone, we are back with chapter 308 of My Hero Academia. Not only has it felt like an eternity since this chapter came out, since we took a week break last week from the manga, but also we were all waiting for this fight or showdown between Muscular and Deku for 2 whole weeks now, and I would say it was totally worth the wait. My name is Andrew Nimsger, and today I'm going to break down for you everything that happened in chapter 308 of the My Hero Academia manga, and going into my thoughts about what's next, reactions to the chapter, and so much more. Chapter starts off with Deku holding Grand, looking down at Muscular from the top of the building, who is beyond excited to see Deku. He recognizes the punch, he recognizes the voice, and he is so happy that Deku's there because nothing else is really good enough fight for him, and that he will never forget the fight that they had so long ago, or even remembering him as Midoriya. Muscular jumps at the building that Midoriya is in, but he doesn't quite make it up, and instead goes in the middle and rips up the building, forcing Deku to jump away, as Muscular is screaming for Deku to go full power. A huge stream, or pretty much a smoke screen, kind of starts all over the building to people's confusions, while outside we do see Deku handing off Grand to Turtleneck, saying, hey, get it inside, he needs first aid right away. She kind of recognizes his voice a little bit, not 100% sure who she is, but there is definitely still a second of recognition before Deku jumps away. And in one of the coolest moments of there, he begins talking as kind of jumping through the air to the 6th user of One For All N, asking if he overdid the use of his quirk, the 6th quirk. And it was just so cool seeing that now Deku really has full control of One For All, and even the vestiges that he can just talk with them on the fly, and they almost seem like friends as they're kind of joking, like, hey, make sure you're not to go over it, I gave you this advice, and kind of being serious, but having a full-fledged conversation while jumping around. And it continues on saying that each one of our quirks are mostly standalone abilities, and they're never going to really be able to be used as a ultimate attack or a combination, something kind of like that, but instead that Deku should really focus on them being his tools. And in that moment, we see Deku in theoretical tools colored over. We have him in a jetpack, we have him with some whips all over him, all kinds of different stuff on there, kind of signifying in a visual way all the different tools he now has access to, thanks to One For All and his true connection with the previous holders. Thinking about how Muscular can withstand his 100% smashes, he jumps up into the air using the 7th quirk float, as well as continuing the smoke screen to kind of reduce the vision of Muscular, while dodging his attacks using his danger sense from the 5th, I believe, and just kind of showing that he has full mastery of all these different quirks, able to use them interchangeably or even at the same time, where he's using float and the smoke screen at the same time, and danger sense. Deku truly is the master of One For All now. And finally, he does use Black Whip to grab a hold of Muscular and keeps him contained to the ground. Muscular is annoyed with kind of all of Deku's cheap party plates, because cheap party trips, because he just wants to go full out and a fight normally. But Deku has other things on mind, where he asks where Shigaraki and One For All are. Muscular replies, I don't know and I don't really care. They let me out and they told me just to go have fun, and that is what I'm here to do. And pretty much continues his parade and kind of insult Deku for talking and using all these gimmicks rather than just having the actual fight that he wants. Deku asks, is this really what you wanted? Why are you raging like this? If you have any regrets, if this was really the only path you had to go down. And he even refers to him as his actual name, which is Goto Imasuji. But Masuji just pretty much responds that he just wants to indulge in blood and violence, and to take this stupid pity into whatever Deku's trying to do somewhere else because he doesn't want it. Deku, kind of in his head, hearing Muscular's declaration, kind of says, okay, well, even though he's still trying to do that thing where he's trying to understand villains and hoping that if Deku can understand the villains, maybe he can turn them around, or things would have turned out differently for the villains. But for this fight with Muscular, it was going to be inevitable, and it's never going to be able to kind of stop him. But he still wanted to know why Muscular was doing all this, and he pretty much got his answer. So as Muscular is about to continue to attack, Deku is able to start seeing some of his muscles coming undone, and that some of the tendons are actually being released, and he's getting weaker from Grand's vibration at the end of chapter 307, because as they get weaker, they'll snap off and kind of flare around, which Deku realized early on in the fight when Muscular tried to jump up at Deku, but landed short, because Muscular isn't one that really uses much tactics. He's all about come and beat the shit out of me. So when he jumped up and lifted up the building, Deku thought that was weird and noticed this, which Muscular screams out in annoyance of this recognition that he can't really do much. And Deku comes in with one smash to the stomach, saying that this is his full power, his tactical prowess, as much as his actual quirk. So, wow. We didn't get to see too many new quirks here, so we know there's a couple other quirks that we still have to do, mainly from the second and third, that in the last vestige conversation, they said, all right, you guys come forward and kind of tell Deku what he's going to be in store for. But we do get to see the sixth quirk with his smoke screen here. And even his relationship with the sixth now, he's the only one throughout the fight that Deku was really talking to. But I'm sure he's able to do that with any of the vestiges that he wants to or that Deku needs to call to. For this reason specifically, he was talking to Six because he was asking if he overdid it on the smoke screen and saying, like, yeah, if you overdo it, sometimes the villains can use it to your advantage as well. Deku does have danger sense and all that, but it's still really good kind of knowledge in the conversation between these two, really trying to improve it. And the point of, I think, showing En in a very visible form, like his full body next to Deku, is showing how connected all of the previous holders are now. It's not Deku and the vestiges. It is the previous one-for-all users as a whole, including Deku, which I think was such a cool change in this chapter from what we've seen ever before. And now Deku pretty much has mastery of everything. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see the second or third quirk, because I think those are going to be really big reveals when he needs it. But it's been 2 or 3 months since he's on the run, and I think it's going to be very, very safe to bet that he has mastery of those quirks, very similar to how he has mastery of his current quirk. So it's going to be so cool seeing what those are when we get to that. But nonetheless, this chapter was beyond cool. And we're still very much Deku, even behind the very cool tattered outfit that he's rocking. It's still Deku. He's still trying to figure out what makes villains tweak or kind of what drives them. And he's still trying to turn them down a different direction because he still is that he still believes that down deep, everyone is good and everyone can be turned around. But we kind of saw with Muscular that might not always be the fact. But nonetheless, I don't have too much else to say about the actual chapter, but going forward, I don't know where it's going to really go from here, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, this is our first confrontation after Deku went rogue. Does he still have interaction with other heroes? Like, even though he's not going to school anymore and he's not working very closely with heroes, is he still keeping in touch with someone? Is he still talking to All Might from time to time? Is he going to go up and talk to Grand and Turtleneck after all this? Or is he just going to go somewhere else? Like, he doesn't stay in one spot too long and just keep using Danger Sense to fight villains until he finds One for All on Shigaraki, because he knows that fight needs to happen eventually. So I think seeing what Deku's really doing and how he's approaching is probably what the next chapter is going to cover, because now that this fight's over, Deku's going to have to decide what to do next. And I don't believe we get another time skip where Deku is just kind of a monster of a week for the next couple of chapters. Doesn't make much sense. So I think we're going to get a lot of insight into how Deku's kind of treating his rogue status and what his next steps are, because he clearly has a plan that, yes, he's going around trying to save people, limit destruction and all that, but he also still wants to find Shigaraki and All for One. So it's a combination of both those at the same time, but no matter what, it is still such a cool chapter. 308 was awesome. I'm glad we're not going to have to wait 2 weeks until we get 309, but I will see you guys all next week when we do talk through everything that happens in My Hero Academia, Chapter 309. Thank you so much for watching.